Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to Echoes of the Steppe. Today, story will be about Sidney Jackson, the American who chose Tashkent. Some people choose their destiny. Others find it in the most unexpected places. This is the remarkable story of Sidney Jackson, an American boxer who became the father of Uzbek boxing and one of the pioneers of the sport in the former Soviet Union. Sidney Jackson was born in New York in 1886 into the modest working-class family. His father worked at a chemical factory but died when Sidney was only 6 years old. Life was difficult, and his older brothers worked hard to support the family and keep him in school. School, however, never truly captured Sidney's interest. Everything changed when one of his classmates brought a sport magazine to school. Inside were photographs of famous boxers. Young Sidney was fascinated. At that moment, he made a decision that would shape his future. He wanted to be a boxer. At the age of 12, he joined a boxing club in the Bronx and began training seriously. His talent, discipline, and determination quickly became apparent. By 1914, Jackson had become a member of American boxing team and was traveling to competitions. During one of his fights, however, he broke a finger and was forced to take a 6-month break from the sport. Not waiting to waste time sitting at home, Sidney decided to travel abroad. Together with a friend, he set off for Russia. Neither of them knew that Europe was on the brink of war. When they arrived, the First World War had begun. Unable to return home, they turned to the American consulate for assistance. Officials advised them to wait in Tashkent, a distant city in Central Asia, until situation improved. Sidney immediately sent telegrams home asking for money to return to America. His friend received financial support, but Sidney did not. His mother was elderly, unable to work, and could not send the money he needed. As a result, Sidney Jackson found himself stranded thousands of miles from home. To survive, he worked as a tailor's assistant and lived among immigrant communities in Tashkent. He learned Russian and gradually adapted to life in foreign land. Then, history took another dramatic turn. The Russian Revolution erupted, followed by the Civil War. During these turbulent years, Sidney voluntarily joined international unit of the Red Army. Between 1918 and 1921, he fought in Central Asia and the Caucasus anti-Bolshevik forces. During his military service, he was wounded twice. Some accounts suggest that he fought one on the Caspian front, and thanks to his knowledge of English, he helped interrogate British prisoners of war encountered during the conflict. After 4 years of military service, Jackson returned to Tashkent as a veteran of the Red Army. There, he discovered his true calling. He began teaching boxing to young athletes. What started as simple training sessions soon evolved into something much larger. Jackson became one of the founders of organized boxing in Central Asia and established one of the first boxing schools in the Soviet Union. His students respected him not only as a coach, but also as a mentor and role model. In 1921, an American diplomatic representative visited Tashkent and offered Jackson the opportunity to return to the United States. Years earlier, he would have accepted immediately. Instead, he refused. According to historical accounts, he replied, "Several years ago, I would have done anything to return home. But now, everything has changed. To be a citizen of the United States is a great honor." But an even greater honor is to remain here and serve this country. By then, Tashkent had become his home. Later, he accepted Soviet citizenship and devoted the rest of his life to the country that had unexpectedly became his destiny. In 1929, Sidney married Berta Braginskaya, a Jewish woman from Kiev. Together, they built a family and raised 2 children. Their son, Leo Jackson, followed his father's example and became an accomplished amateur boxer, ranking among the strongest boxers of his generation in Uzbekistan and the Soviet Union. Later, he chose a medical career and became a surgeon. Despite leaving competitive sports, he remained closely connected to boxing and regularly served as a referee at tournaments. Their daughter, Paina Jackson Katz, spent her entire life in Tashkent and became guardian of her father's legacy. She participated in documentaries, spoke at boxing events, and shared family memories with historians and journalists. Thanks to her efforts, many details of Sidney Jackson's extraordinary life have been preserved. Paena recalled that the people of old Tashkent knew her father so well that they could practically set their watches by his daily bicycle rides through the city. Many residents affectionately called him the father of Uzbek boxing. Sidney Jackson lived through revolution, civil war, political repression, and famine. In addition to coaching boxing, he taught English and eventually became university professor. Yet boxing always remained his greatest passion. Generation of athletes trained under him, and his influence spread far beyond the boxing ring. Among his students were many outstanding athletes who would help shape the future of Soviet and Uzbek boxing. Sidney Jackson died in Tashkent in 1966 at the age of 79 and was buried in a city he had chosen as his home more than half a century earlier. Today, boxing tournaments are still held in his honor. Books and documentary continues to tell his story, including the well-known work Sidney Jackson Remains in Russia. His life reminds us that sometimes home is not the place where we are born, but the place where we choose to serve, teach, and belong. This was the story of Sidney Jackson, the American who came in Tashkent by chance and stayed forever.